Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Pankhuri, your host, and this is After the Jump. Today I want to talk to you guys about my journey as a Reiki healer, how I got into Reiki healing, what Reiki actually is, how it helped me, and how it can help you if you decide to book a session with a Reiki healer or with me. So yeah, before I get into how and when I was introduced to Reiki, I want to tell you guys where I was at in my life right before I was introduced to Reiki. So I remember it was sometime in or around the month of March this year. I was working at this corporate law firm as a corporate lawyer in Mumbai. My job was monetarily quite comfortable, but it was deeply unsatisfying. I felt like it was not meeting me where my potential was or everything I knew myself to be capable of. And no matter how hard I tried, I constantly felt like my values were misaligned with the values of the system that was prevalent there. And I, regardless of whatever was happening, kept striving to stay at it, because even though I did have this tiny, feeble voice telling me that I needed to leave, I needed to quit, I would constantly doubt myself and think about what else would I do? Where would I go? It was almost as if I had forgotten about all of my other talents. It was almost as if I had forgotten of the things that I was capable of. And I think I had gotten so comfortable in my own misery and with the familiar faces around me that even though deep down I did want to, on the surface, I didn't want to leave. So it was almost as if neither did I know how to continue staying in it, nor did I know how to leave it behind. Growth and movement had altogether left the chat. Consistently, constantly, perpetually, I felt stuck, very foggy, very doubtful, very confused. But then eventually, yes, I did move out. And the entire story behind how, when, and why I left my corporate law firm job is captured as part of episode 1. I will link the episode down in the description box and you guys can go watch it if you still haven't. So, yeah, amidst that feeling of stagnation and feeling like I was constantly at a standstill, I remember I stumbled upon the profile of my Reiki coach and psychic, Tegan Blue, on Instagram. I was genuinely very hooked to whatever she was posting about. It was almost as if, she was saying my unsaid words out loud for me and on my behalf. And everything that she said resonated so much with me, so much that, every time I felt like I needed to hear something from someone, she was there. She had posted something that was basically speaking to me and my heart and, to whatever it is that I needed to know. So I then decided to very religiously be a part of her Wednesday community calls. I would make sure that I attended those calls. Like I was so committed and dedicated. She'll tell you that if you ask her. And on these calls is where I met impeccable individuals. I swear, like such like-minded individuals. I really connected with everybody and I connected on a very deep level with Tegan. In my head, I started treating her as my spiritual mentor. I would really take everything that she said seriously because it genuinely spoke to me. Believe me, I have followed people in the past. I have been spiritual for the last almost 4 years now. Despite being that spiritual and despite having the knowledge of so many things and despite constantly reading things online, I still take a lot of time to trust someone. So it's not as if I instantly reposed my faith, and I did take my time, which is why I was a part of those community calls every Wednesday. But it was only gradually that I started to repose my faith in her, because every time she did say something, every time she was explaining something to everybody or to the world in general on her Instagram, her words resonated with me. And with each passing day, my faith and trust in her was only getting stronger. And that's how, in my head, I had started treating her as my spiritual mentor. So I remember that, some of these calls would end with her giving us Reiki energy during the last few minutes of the call. And we would just sit there, receive it from her. And I did mention to her on, I think, a few occasions that, every time she would give Reiki energy, to us through the screen, and I would sit there with my eyes closed, trying to receive it, I would feel energy flowing in the space between my brows. And she told me that I'm very open to receive, and that's a great thing. That made me feel good. I didn't really know what it was. And I swear I had no idea what Reiki was. We never had a chat about it. I never really looked it up. So I had zero clue. That was the first time that I was introduced to it, just in a very experiential fashion. But it was a very surface level experience, because those moments where she was winding the call down by giving us Reiki energy would only last for, I think, a minute or two. So that was me experiencing Reiki on like a very surface level. Eventually, I did decide to, sign up for a proper session, a proper Reiki healing session from her. And the session lasted a good 30 minutes. And during that session, I felt this full flow of Reiki energy flowing in through me. I felt like my entire body was absorbing these energies. So I really felt it on like a cellular level. And I did tell her that. And honestly, by this time, I would, at like random moments, minutes and hours of the day, would feel energy flowing in through the space between my brows. It was almost as if I had activated that area. And that area is essentially your third eye. I'll talk about it, as we progress in this video. But yeah, it was almost as if I had activated that area, and I didn't really know what it stood for back then, but that is essentially what was happening. I think it was sometime around the end of the month of April or May. She had these Reiki Healer Level 1 certification courses. And, while she was marketing about it on these community calls and, on her Instagram, I didn't really pay any heed. I swear I had no interest back then. I never thought that's what I was going to do. I was very much interested in tarot reading. So at the time I was contemplating that, okay, maybe I should like take a course for tarot reading just as a hobby. Now that I wanted to pursue it anything. And I do know how to read tarot today, but honestly, I'm quite self-taught. I've never really taken a course, and I just do it for fun. I swear I'll just pull cards for fun for myself. And I pull cards for my friends also because they enjoy it. And, they tell me that I'm accurate, but yeah, I just do it for them just like that. So that's the thought I had back then, that I was going to enroll myself in a tarot course, but I didn't. That's because it was almost as if Reiki found me, or, Reiki chose me, because Tegan personally messaged me on Instagram and she said that I should take the course because she thought that I was very open to receive, which I clearly was. And she said I should really do it. And then I told her that I needed some time to think about it because I had some other plan for myself in my head. But then I mulled over it and I decided that, maybe this will meant to do something to me, because there's a reason I, gravitated towards Tegan's profile. I naturally, made my way to all of her Wednesday community calls. And I kept in touch, and it was very much unexpected that, I began to trust her in the way that I did. All of her words would resonate with me. So I again decided to trust her, and I just enrolled myself, and I decided to take that certification course so that I could become a Reiki Healer Level 1, not knowing what I was signing up for, not knowing what was going to come at all. And oh my God, it changed my life. Now, before I tell you guys about, what these courses did for me and how these courses, brought about further changes in me, I absolutely forgot to mention a very important part. The first Reiki healing session that I had taken from Tegan, the one and only Reiki healing session that I took from Tegan, which lasted for 30 minutes. I didn't even realize in the days following the session and in the weeks following the session that I had started to sort of have this clarity in my head and in my heart and in my life in general. A lot of the confusion that I felt earlier, a lot of stagnation that I felt, the feelings of stuckness that I had from before, they had gradually dissolved, and I was not even conscious, up until I think days or a couple of weeks later, that I realized that, oh my God, I'm feeling so much clearer. And it's not that I had done something, because I was not a regular meditator. I was not even somebody who was practicing regular breath work. I had done it here and there, but I was not very spiritually disciplined back then. Like it was very fragmented for me. My interest in spirituality was very fragmented because I battled a lot with finding the time to have that spiritual discipline and maintain that spiritual hygiene for myself. So it's not that I was doing something on the side that brought this about. Then it clicked me that it must have been that Reiki healing session because I felt so much clearer. And I'll tell you how I felt clearer. I think it was the month of May, right before I had that conversation with Tegan about me enrolling for the certification course. I started hearing my inner voice louder and clearer than ever before. It was almost as if there was no more suppressing it. It literally was reverberating, like I knew it in my bones. I had to quit. I didn't know when and I didn't know how, but I knew that it was only a matter of, by this point, I had also become very vocal about it with my friends as to how I knew that this was going to happen. And I think right before this, even though, like I had mentioned earlier, that there was a tiny feeble voice which was telling me that I needed to walk away, I was ignoring it. I thought this is just another whim or fancy of mine. I'm maybe running away from a difficulty, but little did I know. In fact, I started feeling quite exasperated because I just wanted to do it as soon as possible, almost to the point that I was okay not being pragmatic about my decision. But of course, I waited. I waited because, a decision this big and especially so unprecedented, you have to make sure, right? At least you have to give that comfort to your brain that you are doing the right thing for yourself. So I had to do that. And so I did take my time despite the exasperation that I was feeling and despite the surety and the certitude that I was also feeling at the same time in terms of my inner knowing that I had to walk away. I had to leave it behind, even though I didn't know what was next for me. But again, I kept hearing and I kept getting that it was almost like a boulder which was kept on my path that I was walking or that I was supposed to walk. And unless I lifted that boulder up and put it aside, I would not be able to see the path that lay ahead for me that I was supposed to walk on. So, yeah, that's one very important detail that I forgot to mention. And then, yeah, right after this, Tegan and I had that discussion where I agreed that, okay, I'm going to do it. And yeah, I did sit for the certification for the training. It was quite intense. The Reiki Healer Level 1 certification course, I think, happened sometime towards the end of the month of May. And it was very intense. It was a very intense, I think, over 10 hours of training. It's been quite some time now, so I'm not really sure of the number of hours that it took, but it was very intense, specifically for me, because my body went through a lot of changes in that training. And when I say, I don't mean physical changes, just mean like really energetic changes. I genuinely felt that everything about my energy that made up my chakras, and I'll talk about the chakras for those of you who don't know what chakras are. Everything that made up the system inside my body, everything that was responsible for the functioning of my body was rearranging itself. So honestly, it was quite intense. And in fact, it was a little scary for me as well because my body did experience a couple of movements which were not in my control. And I was definitely scared. But, I trusted Tegan with all my heart. And, she was there every step of the way to assure me of my safety. Obviously, she just took care of all of us during the training. So it was never a question of whether or not this is right. It was none of those things. It was just very overwhelming because it was nothing like anything that I had seen or experienced before. So I think it took about maybe a couple of minutes or something to get used to adjust to whatever had just happened. If you guys really would like details on, what the attunements look like. So essentially, when I say attunements are these sessions where the Reiki teacher or the Reiki master, here Tegan, would send Reiki energy. She would send it in such a manner that the energy would be transferred to my hands so that my hands are now attuned. They have now been activated with Reiki energy just so that I'm able to heal others. Those sessions are called attunements. So yeah, if you guys would like more details on what these attunements look like and what exactly happened to my body, I am more than happy to make a separate video on that. But I do want to say that the gist of every change, energetic, cellular, mental, emotional, whatever changes I went through during those attunements, the gist of these changes and the aftermath and the consequences of these changes was that, and the way that I understood it to be from Tegan and otherwise, was that my body was trying to heal itself. You know, in order to be able to heal other people, you have to have a clean, pure, healed energy yourself. Otherwise, you cannot give a clean, pure, healed energy to someone else. So, yeah, do let me know if you guys would like me to make a separate video, and I will oblige. Moving on, I'm a level 2 healer now, but there was a time gap between me becoming a Reiki healer level 1 and then going on to become a Reiki healer level 2. That time gap was almost 21 days to 30 days. You are actually supposed to go on a self-healing journey where you are required to, perform Reiki healing on yourself every day. You're supposed to sort of practice it. You can also practice it on other people who are obviously in your vicinity with their consensus. And you can also practice it on animals. Animals love Reiki healing energies. They love it. Cats respond to it. Dogs respond to it. So yeah, you could do that. And then again, there was no question of me not enrolling myself for a level 2 certification course. I absolutely did. I swear the attunements changed my life. The attunement that I had to become a Reiki healer level 1 and then the level 2 healer, both of those attunements changed my life. The first one was obviously very scary and very overwhelming, but the second one, I had become more comfortable. I had started to, I think, embrace my own healing powers, something that I was probably not comfortable in doing because, a lot of times you're just judgmental about a lot of things, right? But then once you try to become comfortable with your own heart, your own capacity, your own capabilities, you understand the difference that you can make in other people's lives as an individual or when you're working in that capacity. So I understood the depth and the impact that I was going to have if I just chose to embrace myself, which is what I did. And again, not going to get into the specifics of what really happened to me or whatever it is that I experienced during the second attunement when I was sitting to become a Reiki healer level 2. But if you guys do want the details or the specifics, I'm happy to break those down in a separate video. So yeah, the fact that I had become this person who was capable of generating and just being able to transmit Reiki energy, which is a healing energy, through me, through my hands, through my body, and be able to either heal myself or to someone around me through time and space, or to someone who's in my vicinity, that realization, that epiphany was life changing. It was massive. I don't think I had understood the tremendous impact of something like this. But now that I do, I think it has definitely taken me some time to get comfortable with it. Even after getting certified, I think it still took me quite a while to sort of become comfortable with it. But then I saw that, people were responding. The clients that I had, they were responding and it was really doing them good. The testimonials that I got, they were indicative of the changes that my clients were experiencing after they received a healing from me. And I think that just cemented my conviction in being a healer. Anyway, now I want to tell you guys what Reiki actually is. What does it mean? I want to mention a couple of other benefits that I experienced. And I also want to break down how, in general, it helps a person if they do decide to take a session. Now, what Reiki really is. Reiki is actually a Japanese word, which means universal life force energy. Reiki actually originated in Japan and has these ancient links with Tibetan philosophy. Honestly, it's not dogmatic in nature. Literally, anyone can practice it. It's literally a very peaceful way of transferring life force energy from a Reiki healer or the practitioner to someone who is consenting to receive it so that the receiver's body can heal itself. That's all. Now, if I had to describe it, then how would I describe it? I think of Reiki as literally like champagne gold light because it genuinely provides you so much nourishment. And I have only come to realize it over the course of, the last more than 6 months that I've been sort of practicing it and I've been working with clients. And I swear I can't think of a better term. It's champagne golden light for me. Now, Reiki literally heals everything, okay? Every aspect of your body, every aspect of you, whether that's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. So if you are learning about what Reiki is, you should also know what is the chakra system in our body. We have a total of 7 main chakras in our body. All right. These chakras are actually energy centers. Essentially, they are these spinning vortices of energy emanating from the spinal column, continuing out of the physical body and into the aura that we have. Every individual has an aura. All right. And that aura actually has its roots back to these energy centers. All right. So at the base of your spine, you have your root chakra. All right. Which essentially symbolizes stability, security. All right. Then when you move up in your lower abdomen, you have your sacral chakra. Sacral chakra is your seat of emotionality, your creativity, sensuality. When you move further up in your upper abdomen, you have your solar plexus chakra. Solar plexus chakra symbolizes empowerment, transformation, confidence. It is essentially the chakra or the energy system which is responsible for the actions that you take, everything that you do. Then, when you move up, you have your fourth chakra, your heart chakra, which is located in the center of your chest. It is, as the name suggests, undoubtedly the seat of love and compassion. It governs how you form interpersonal relationships, your relationship with yourself. Then, when you move up, you have your throat chakra, which is located in the region of your neck. Throat chakra is essentially responsible for governing the expression of your truth, how you communicate, things like that. Then you have your sixth chakra, which is your third eye chakra, located in the region between your brows. This right here. This is essentially the seat of insight, intuition, inner wisdom. And then you have your seventh chakra, your crown chakra. It is essentially located at the crown of your head. This is symbolic of divine consciousness, universal consciousness, unity with divine, transcendence, spiritual wisdom. These 7 chakras are together responsible for the overall functioning of the body, owing to the specific symbolism that each chakra has, which I just explained. So this is essentially your chakra system. Now coming to how a session with me looks like. Honestly, the way that I like to take a session is with all of my clients, I like to have a brief chat in the beginning, just so I can gauge where they're at in their lives emotionally and mentally. It's just to get a sense of how they're functioning emotionally and mentally. And then we segue into the healing. Now, obviously, as a level 2 healer, I do both in-person healing sessions and distance healings, where I only get to see you through the screen. We have a chat once and then you go offline. When I say offline, I don't mean you exit the meeting room. You can turn off your cameras. That's how it's done. And then I perform healing. Now, essentially, what happens is when we're having that chat, if you do have a specific intention or if you do have a specific issue that you want to work through, then I take note of that and I keep that in my head while I'm giving you Reiki healing. If you don't have anything specific, then I go for simple but an overarching chakra scanning, chakra healing session. All right, where we work through all of your 7 chakras. Now, what happens is when I'm actually sending you Reiki or I'm giving you Reiki, I'm able to get a sense of the position of your chakras. When I say the position of your chakras, I don't necessarily mean the physical position of your chakras. What I mean is, how overactive, underactive, or balanced your chakras are. Sometimes what happens is I also get intuitive downloads. Sometimes I also am seeing things, So these are very common with healers because we do get that spiritually attuned with our own energies, with your energies, just so that we're able to dive into the deepest layers of your issues. So sometimes the downloads that I get about you, if you are receiving healing from me, that may be relevant to an information that you've already mentioned to me during our brief chat, while at other times, I may receive a download which is like a brand new information to me, something that has no association with whatever the chat was about between you and I right before the healing started. All right. So it's very specific to each individual. It really depends. But essentially, that's what happens. Personally, for me, as I had mentioned, it was quite a game changer and very serendipitous the way that I received multiple waves of clarity each time I got a session. Each time, either I healed myself by performing Reiki on myself, or I received Reiki from a fellow Reiki healer, So I don't think I was expecting the kind of impact that it had on me and the level of authority that it sort of allowed me to step into. Because that's what it does. It helps you step into power. It helps you step into authority and move away from fear. You're making decisions right after stepping into authority, right after those waves of clarity, from a place of being in alignment with your highest good, so that you can lead a life that is most fulfilling for you and that is bringing you the most happiness. And that's what it did for me. Now, I'm not saying that it will magically change everything. It's a process. Everything is a process. I'm not saying that it's going to push you into this utopia where nothing ever goes wrong. It's not about fixing anything. But it's literally the way that I see it, as in my personal experience with it has been that it's a somatic tool for self-development. If you're someone who's keen on self-development, it will help you somatically. And believe me, over the course of the last couple of years that I have been working on myself, either through talk therapy or otherwise, I mean, genuinely speaking, it's only been last year that I actually sort of started dipping my toes properly into the waters of spirituality. I think I was spiritual before that, but I was only trying to garner knowledge from here and there, but that's about it. I didn't really meditate. I didn't really do breath work. It was only last year that I sort of started to actually meditate, actually do breath work, and tried to be consistent. Failed multiple times. I don't think I was ever consistent, but especially since Reiki, I have been very, very consistent with the practice itself or with trying to meditate or trying to do breath work just in general. So the point that I'm trying to make is, if you're someone who's keen on self-development, then this is a great spiritual but somatic tool which will help you with navigating whatever situation it is that you are in. Even if you are in no specific situation, it will still help you. That is why I think it's gaining so much traction amongst people who have now started to cultivate that discipline of wanting to work on themselves. It's not just a wellness tool that people are sort of discarding as exotic, woo-woo, something that I swear I would have done had I known about it 4 years ago. And believe me, I was an absolute non-believer. So I know that most of the people who still sort of discard modalities and practices as exotic and woo-woo, I know where they're coming from, because that's the place that I was coming from 4 years ago. We're literally in the middle of a wave where you're seeing a rise in people wanting to work on themselves so that they can stay connected to who they are, so that they can be true to themselves, so that they stay authentic and consistently authentic, right? So that they can lead a life which is conscious, which represents them. It's not a life that's been imposed on them, but it's a life that they have chosen for themselves. And that's where I think these tools, these modalities come in, because we are literally living in a world where there's a lot of external stimulation. And especially the kind of age that we're now in. We're literally now in the middle of the second industrial revolution. We are now supposed to ride the wave of AI. With all of that, the only thing that's going to remain is how true you are to yourself, how authentic you are to yourself. And the way to do that is to work on yourself. And when I say work on yourself, I don't mean that you have to fix yourself. I mean that you have to find yourself and stay there, stay with yourself. And it takes a lot of time. It's a process, right? Even for people who are healers, even for me now, it's taken a lot of time to get where I'm at. And I don't think that the journey has ended. So essentially, the point is that because of the kind of world that we're living in, there are a lot of external stimulants, and there's a lot of stimulation that we receive. There's a lot of consumption that happens. We tend to move away from our center. But essentially, to be able to preserve ourselves in this age of AI and to be able to survive effectively and efficiently, you need to come back to yourself. And the way to come back to yourself, you have to rely on these personal development tools. So I look at it as a personal development tool. And that's why I think it's gaining a lot of traction amongst individuals who are keen on personal development, who understand that This is a tool which is going to somatically heal you, work on you. So talk therapy alone doesn't cut it because body remembers even if the mind forgets. And that's why I think they say that your lungs, they store grief. So they tell you that you need to do breath work so that you can release the grief. That's just an example. So unless you're engaging in some kind of somatic healing, it's not really coming out of your system. The suppressed emotions, the repressed emotions, all of that storage, it's still there. And the only way to get it out is through somatic healing. And Reiki, for me, I've discovered is a way to somatically heal myself, somatically work on myself. And that's why the wave of clarity. You know what I mean? So it's essential that once you're clear, the fog has lifted, you are present. You are with yourself. You are able to be true to yourself with your clear head. You're able to make those decisions. You're able to choose what's right for you, what's wrong for you. It's coming from a place of personal empowerment, self-empowerment, and not because somebody's dictating you. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you're blind to it unless you see it. You're numb to it unless you feel it for yourself. You know what I mean? On that note, I want to ask you guys, if you have any questions, please put them down in the comments below and I will make sure to answer each one of them. If there was any aspect of this video which wasn't clear, or if you would like me to make a separate video on the effects of attunements on me while I was training to become a level 1 and a level 2 hero, then let me know. I will oblige. If this intrigues you and you feel this nudge to book a session, to see what a session feels like with me, then you can either reach out to me via email if you want to have a discussion before you book a session, or if you're confident and you want to book a session directly, then you can do that at the link in the description box below. Additionally, I'm also putting my Reiki flyer down that you can download for free. It has literally all the details about what Reiki is, what a session with me looks like, the chakra system, all of the things that I explained in the video. And you can literally go through it at your own convenience and get back to me if you have more questions. Yeah. And that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you guys liked it. Please hit that like and subscribe button because it really helps me. And I will see you in the next video very soon.